We also announced our new colleague, Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah. We're thrilled. Can't wait to have him on Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Heads up, Mike, our end-of-the-year parties in a couple of weeks. Need you to choose a couple of food options. Right now, chicken fingers and onion rings are leading the group text
Fried
voting.
cauliflower.
Yeah, fried cauliflower took a weird charge.
Backup producer Pete trying to throw in fried cauliflower. It's not going to happen.
I like fried cauliflower.
He was
Do you really?
led the
It sort of
charge.
has universal approval rating.
I thought
It's a vegetable, but it's not.
little health conscious.
Yeah,
I don't think fried cauliflower is very healthy.
But it's still cauliflower. It's just like when people pour a bunch of cheese on their broccoli.
Yeah,
and
right.
you say it's still broccoli.
Yeah, I thought you were trolling Pete with that.
No,
I
he was
I like
dead
it.
serious.
No,
He was dead serious.
No, I like it. As I said, the fried cauliflower orders itself.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Cauliflower fans, 4 of us here. Myself, Jay Croucher, Lawrence Jackson, Connor Rogers, a despondent Connor Rogers with his New York Knicks, which we're going to get to, and Matthew Barry.
Yes, thank you very much. Listen, I am not a cauliflower fan.
No, just a little shocked.
And while I am a fan of fried foods, much to the chagrin of my dietitian and wife, I don't believe you should fry cauliflower. I think it's an abomination, honestly, to both sides.
Right, nobody wins.
Yeah,
Nobody wins.
Like if you
Yeah,
wanted a
I could go
vegetable,
with
you don't
that.
want that.
Nobody
If you wanted
wins.
fried food, you don't want that.
Yeah.
But Jay Croucher and backup producer Pete are just leading the charge.
Yeah, it's super weird. Our end of the year party is tonight, so everyone associated with Fantasy Football Happy Hour and Michael Jordan will be gathering in an undisclosed location for an evening of fun and frivolity to celebrate the season. You guys are all invited, by the way.
Even though it's a secret location,
Yeah, if you can
you're still
figure out
invited.
if you can figure out where we are, by all means, come by. Lots to get to today. We're going to talk best ball. We've got like kind of a best ball primer as we head into the summer here as well. But there's a few things I want to address. Number one is I want to take a moment here because I know we've got some sadness to deal with Connor Rogers, diehard Knicks fan. But I do want to take a moment here to congratulate a number of our colleagues and a number of our friends here at Fantasy Football Happy Hour because they are all Emmy Award winners. Dan Carcamo, Stupid Dev. Stupid Dev is now an Emmy winner.
Yes.
Yes,
Hard
look
copy,
at this.
Physical copy on
NBC won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Live Special Championship event for our coverage of the Paris Olympics. And a number of the people here at Happy Hour worked on the Olympics, including Dan, including Stupid Dev. He's now Emmy Award winning Stupid Dev. That is his now official title on the show. Jason Gold, Adam Wise, backup producer Pete is now.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Are we sure about that one?
I don't know that he's actually getting, but somehow backup producer Pete wound up with a golden trophy. Producer Steven, Jenna Morello, Jacob Halperin, Big Show.
Wow.
Big Show wins an Emmy.
Show?
Big Show is a big Emmy winner, and Todd Zeal. Todd Zeal also, I don't know how it happened, but yes.
done it again.
He's done it again.
He just keeps getting in on these Emmys.
Yes, Todd Zeal has another Emmy. Connor Rogers is not, though,
No,
Jake.
he doesn't. He still doesn't. Still
I don't know. I think he is because all those people associated with Fantasy Football Happy Hour who won that Emmy,
Yes.
we kind of won it too. So we in there too.
We're Emmy adjacent.
Yeah. We associated.
We bring out the best in
affiliates.
backup producer Pete,
I'm a little-
and Steven, and Adam.
I'm a little worried
Go
about
ahead.
Stupid Dev and this going to his head because, Stupid Dev, he's previously been a very humble man, but then I see him sitting courtside next to John Hamm at the Knicks game last night.
Yes.
It feels like he's a little bit too big time now.
Yeah, he's-
Producing some segments now. Things are on the up and up.
We might be stupid for doubting Dev. So anyway, I just will have one question for you,
doubters.
Connor. Watching the Knicks game last night, because I was driving home. I was being driven. Don't worry. But I'm watching it.
Sounds like a lie.
No. Because I was watching on my phone.
Big
I
time.
was watching it on my phone. Like I was in an Uber or whatever. And so I'm watching the last
Story keeps
quarter
changing.
and overtime on my phone. And so it was hard to hear. But that last Halliburton shot that gets him to overtime, where it goes up and down, when it hit
One
the
in a
rim,
trillion
did it
shot.
go right? Did it go? Was on the first one? Was it then Bing? And then bong? Is that when I hear fans talk about
good.
bing bong, is that what that means?
Very good.
Bing bong? how are you feeling, Connor?
It's game one.
Okay.
I'm sitting here just thinking, if the Pacers don't win this series, that becomes the funniest meme in the world to me. Doing the choke in game one on a shot that did not win you the game.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I will enjoy this more than I
thought
ever
for
could have
sure.
imagined.
I thought for sure they were losing overtime because of that. Because
Right, it did kind of feel like
karma,
a bad omen. Well, I mean, when you have officials that don't know what a goaltend is, that doesn't help either. But the Knicks blew this game. Let's just be totally real.
Indeed.
Connor Rogers is very fired up on some text threads.
They were up. Yeah, they were up 9. They were up. Knicks were up 9 with
Almost
under
impossible to
55
do.
seconds.
There's been like
to
1,000
go.
examples of this. They're the only ones to lose it.
That's what was the stat that you and I were texting about, Jay? Like
I believe
900.
when you're up 14 with 2 minutes 45 left, 995 teams have been in that situation in the playoffs since 1997. 994 of those teams went on to win. The one is, of course,
It's hard to do. Yeah.
I will say this: Jay
Pretty
Croucher had the Pacers money line last night. Just so you know.
Well, I mean,
Connor.
Jay's never seen a front-running situation. He's never loved it.
they're underdogs.
Happy to jump
Listen,
in.
I grew up a Knicks fan, which is very strange because I grew up with the Stephon Marbury Knicks.
Sure.
Look at you four frauds sitting at the Pacers
I just
game.
want you to show you this photo here because that's me and obviously Jay. That's backup producer Pete.
Who's
in
a
the
Knicks
hat.
fan, by the way.
Yeah,
Emmy
backup
Award
producer
winner.
Pete, Emmy Award-winning producer. Yeah, and non-Emmy Award-winning producer Damien. The four of us took in, when we went to the NFL Combine, Lawrence passed on the opportunity, but the four of us went to go see the Pacers play the Toronto Raptors, and from the moment of this photo, Pacers are 27-10 and 3 games away from the NBA Finals. I don't know if it's the reason or not, but I'm just saying, you just look at the stats. From the moment of that photo, when the four of us went to go see the Pacers in Indiana and we attended their game and drank in the magic that is Pascal Siakam, then you know what? They're 27-10. They're 27-10.
Yeah.
So
No.
anyway, congratulations.
I will say,
yes, sirs.
Yes, the beauty of betting is, so I grew up a big Knicks fan. I had opinions about like Ronaldo Borkman and Marty Collins and starting David Lee over Channing Frye like the 07 season. And then now I have this big bet on the Pacers, plus 150 to win the series. And so big Knicks fans growing up last night, I just want to see Timothy Chalamet cry. I just want the tears courtside.
Cash out while you can.
Yeah.
Well, either way, Timothy Chalamet, backup producer Pete, Connor, and everyone, all Knicks fans, you guys drink free.
Knicks
that was a
fans,
tough beat last night.
They already been drinking, though.
Oh, my God.
They already been drinking.
That's a tough beat. Tough beat.
Matthew, I do have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
I saw a poll on your Instagram
Yeah.
that asked if the Falcons' 28-3 loss
Yes.
was worse than this. I
That's a little
can't
aggressive.
even
Come on.
fathom Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals to blowing a 25-point Super Bowl lead.
No.
Well, what was the results of that? Because I could,
Actually,
I'm about to say, because I could tell you, I would guess.
I didn't even vote.
I would guess
scroll
that
up.
losing the Super Bowl in overtime would be just a little bit worse.
Hang on. Yeah, but the point of the poll was, and to be clear, what I was doing was engagement farming.
Absolutely. Rage baiting.
Yes. Dog whistle, whatever phrase
That's
you
why I
want to
didn't
do.
vote. I wouldn't give you the engagement. I gave you the view. That was enough.
That's completely engagement farming. And if you'd like
You
to vote in
won,
the poll,
Connor, damn it,
at
you
Matthew,
won.
at Matthew Berry TMR on Instagram, if you'd like to go help to my engagement farming. But no, it wasn't about the magnitude of the loss, because losing a Super Bowl is obviously not comparable to losing the Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. I just meant the comeback. 28-3. What's more improbable? Being down 28-3 at the start of the third quarter, right? Or
It was the end of the third quarter, wasn't
it was like middle of the third
It was
quarter.
2 minutes and 5 seconds left in the third.
Thank you,
Down
Lawrence.
28-3.
Sorry to bring this up.
Okay, that's right. Sorry, Falcons fan Lawrence Jackson. Sorry.
Sack fumble.
So right, but what's more improbable? Like losing when you're up 28-3 with 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in the third quarter, or losing when you're up 9 with under 55 seconds to go and the ball.
With Neesmith going 8 of 9 for 3.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that's what I'm
funny.
saying. What's more, I would be interested in knowing what the win probability was at 28-3 and what it was up 9 with 54 and a half seconds to go.
very
Well,
similar.
we can't say what the money lines were because the money line got turned off.
Right, of course
last
it
night.
did,
You couldn't bet on the Pacers' money line because it was just too improbable. They had no chance of winning. I would say that it's very difficult because it's like the difference between 99.9 and 99.85 at this
Right.
point. But
That was the point of the poll.
Yeah.
I was letting the people decide.
It's
Jay
good rage
Croucher.
bait. Good
Yes.
rage bait.
I think the Falcons was more improbable because of the fact that there was so little time left, and also they were scoring at will the whole game,
right?
And then they just stopped. With the NBA, it's like you get turnovers, you shoot threes. Like I think the Falcons is more improbable.
You control the ball more in football.
Yeah.
Or you theory should.
It's easier to get turnovers. The crazy thing with the Knicks thing is that they almost turned the inbounds over past twice.
Right.
Twice. Brunson tried to throw off Neesmith's foot and missed it. So I think the Falcons one will always be number one.
I don't know though. I just you know what I mean. Just in terms of the amount of time, because you had more time left in the game. They're down 9. You know, it's a 3-possession game just to tie it up with under a minute to go. And in theory, the Knicks have 2 24-second possessions available to them in that 55 seconds, right? You got to make the free throws, right?
Yeah.
But you know, so, and the Patriots had Tom Brady, and not to like get into like narratives or whatever, but like you don't have the fear yet of a member of the Pacers the way you do that Tom Brady, who is, you know, among the greatest to ever play a professional sport
somewhere. Yep.
Yes.
All right, let's get to best ball.
Yes.
Start with. We're going to talk about some of the players that we think are going to rise.
Do you think back and producer Pete will bring his Emmy too? Well, like he sit there with a big plate of fried cauliflower.
He had expedited shipping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the big Emmy right there.
I think he takes it with him to the bathroom at NBC these days.
Yeah.
I think he takes
He
it with
probably will wear it
absolutely
around here. Like, what do they put babies in on the front? Like he'll put
like
it
in a baby Bjorn?
Yeah, he'll put the trophy in.
No,
there.
will he do
I
a
think
baby?
he get a chain.
I was just gonna say,
Use the Emmy
like Flavor
as the-
Flav.
Yeah. Yes,
like
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
like wear it around.
Big ass gold Emmy right
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
I
That's what
think
he'll
his
do. Him
players-
and Big Show.
I think his play now is just introduce himself as an Emmy Award winner at all points.
Emmy Pete.
Yeah. Emmy Pete.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think Dev should change his Instagram title to
I think
Emmy
so.
Award winning.
I think that'd be
Stupid
good
Dev.
branding for Dev.
Yeah, it's good. Emmy Award winning, stupid Dev.
Okay,
Yep.
let's get
All
to
right,
best ball.
Here we go now.
Let's talk about the differences between best ball and regular ball. Matthew, you like these setups. You like to talk about, you like to explain segments and concepts. So talk to the people about
Keep
best
it open
ball.
or close it out.
Yeah. You want me to explain that one? I can get that one. What about love hate? I can explain love hate.
Three months
Promise
away,
you.
no big deal.
All right. So best ball, very simple. You don't. This and it's a great kind of format for Connor because you don't have to think.
It's lazy man's fantasy.
It's lazy man. It's fantasy.
I love it.
It's really is.
I do 100 drafts every spring.
It's 100.
And then I prefer not to play in any actual real leagues.
Yeah, of course.
You guys just sucker me into our stupid league.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So all you do is basically, as you see it right here, if you've never played in a best ball league, you draft a league. You're in a league like normal, and you draft a fantasy football team. The difference is once you're done with the draft, you are done. There's no picking up. There's picking up players. There's no trades. You don't even set lineups. Basically, at the end of every week's games, your best possible lineup is set for you. You also don't play with defenses or kickers. As you see, there are no ads, drops, waivers, or trades. It's basically a 14-week regular season, and then you advance. The top 2 teams advance. We're using this for DraftKings, of course. And then basically you have the playoff rounds in weeks 15, 16, and 17. And when you're playing on DraftKings, you're in a larger pool. Sometimes you're in a 12-team league if you want, but you can be in a larger prize pool as well. But that's the basic idea, right? And specifically to DraftKings, which is obviously our sponsors, we are DraftKings men here on the Fantasy Happy Hour set. The crown is in fact yours. It's full PPR, specifically to DraftKings. Obviously, note your scoring settings. Other best ball platforms don't use full PPR, but check that out. There are yardage bonuses, however, for 300 yards passing, 100 yards receiving, and rushing. So those are the main differences between regular season-long fantasy football and best ball. It's really fun because it is a way for you to because everyone loves drafting, right? You love drafting, and it gives you a way to sort of gauge how you feel about certain players when you're faced with, do I want this receiver or this running back? And it forces you into that, but then you don't have the in-season maintenance, to your point. Like you can fire off 100 of these drafts, and then that's all. You don't, and check in on them when you want.
And I think it rewards the player that is into fantasy year-round because the ADPs are just so drastically different when you're running these drafts on DraftKings this time of year where, let's be real, guys, when we draft at the end of August, we've had 900 conversations from the end of July through August where, you'll pick a ride or die, and then that player's ADP will be nuked. Like all these different conversations around the industry change that. So if you feel like you're ahead of the curve on players, this is a really fun format to capitalize on that.
It sure is. And you can even do it before the NFL draft.
Yes.
And so if you're reading like Connor Rogers on NBC Sports, and you're like,
bet on talent.
I'm just going to bet on talent. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me, Bayshell Tootin. Okay. I'm gonna draft him higher than he should go.
I feel like we're going to talk about Bayshell Tootin a lot this year.
Yes.
Just a magnificent name. Let's talk about general strategy for best ball, Matthew, contest selection is an important one. You're a big guy on knowing formats and everything as you go into leagues.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand what your goals are. Let's just start there, right? What's your? We're gonna get through. We're gonna get through all of these kind of topics here, but contest selection is important. Like, what are you trying to make the most money? Or you're just trying to have fun? Are you trying to? Because you can. There are contests where thousands upon thousands can enter, and your chances of winning are slim. But if you enter 150 lineups and one of them hits it, like, you're suddenly a millionaire, right? And so that's exciting. But you can also choose smaller prize pools. You can choose ones where you can only do one entry, a single entry, like everyone in the pool has only got one lineup. Or 3 entry max, 5 entry max as well. Basically, I think it's important to look like, how much are you playing for? What's the entry fee? What's the field size? And look at the payout structure, because they have different payout structures for different tournaments. Are you looking for a really big prize and hoping you get lucky? Or are you hoping for just a little bit and that they pay down to a lot more spots as well? What's the cut that wherever you're playing for, like what's DraftKings cut as well? So I just think it's important to contest selection is an important piece of your ultimate success, especially depending on what your goals are.
Yeah, I think in these big tournaments too, Matthew, we always talk about in redraft how when we talk, like, for example, when we talk about the Packers wide receiver room, right?
Yep.
We always say, well, we're not excited about drafting any of them because we don't know which one's going to pop off from week to week or whatever. But in these big contests, you have to find a way to try to separate yourself, especially as the season goes along. So you may end up having a Packers receiver like a Christian Watson. Maybe he's healthy in week 16, week 17.
Right.
We know Christian Watson is a big play receiver. He can get down the field. He can go out there and get 4 catches, 150 yards, and might not have done anything the first 10 weeks, but for that week, and now your lineup has that much difference in it in that big contest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, because what you're talking about kind of leads us into the next point, Connor, which is roster construction, right? And when you're constructing your roster, there's a lot of different things, but one of the things you want to look at, to your point, is that where the money happens is towards the end of the season. And so Christian Watson, you're like, I'm sure people listening to that, well, Christian Watson, isn't he hurt? Is he going to miss much of the season? Well, sure. But, like, if he's healthy towards the end of the year and he's a big play guy, all you need him is, if he pops off in week 16 or week 17, could win you a lot of money, and you pick him literally in the last round. And so that's one thing I think that's important, is how you construct your roster, realizing that once you're done with a draft, Connor, you're never making another move.
That's right. Volatility is just looked at differently in best ball, right? Where, like, think of Rashad Bateman last year.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman had some weeks where you're like, man, if I had Rashad Bateman for those weeks, I'm stacking up such an advantage over everyone else. Or, an interesting player last year too was TJ Hawkinson, because you knew you weren't going to have him for a long time, but can he be a difference maker for you at tight end? And then obviously the volatility of rookies, the year Brock Bowers had. And then you look at, where Rome Odunze was drafted, maybe compared to a Brian Thomas Jr. So which rookie is going to pop off that's in a similar ADP to another rookie that might have to wait his turn? So volatility is a key in best ball, and it's hard to predict, but you probably take a little bit more risk, Matthew, in that bucket than you do in redraft.
Yeah, and there's, Jay talks about variance all the time, and especially when you're in these large field tournaments, the more differentiation you can have, like, yes, you think Saquon Barkley is great. So does everyone in the universe.
Yep.
Like, Saquon's not going to give you an advantage because everyone's going to have, Saquon. But what's going to give you an advantage is trying to have a unique build compared to other teams out there. The more unique you have a build, it still has to obviously be a good team. Like, you can't just draft all scrubs or anything like that. But I think trying to have some variance and have a unique build to the best of your ability gives you an advantage, because when it pops, that's gonna help you win some money and be successful towards the end of the year. I think it's worth noting specifically in terms of roster construction when we're talking about DraftKings, it's full PPR. Again, there are other platforms that are half PPR, but so wide receivers obviously very important in full PPR and in DraftKings. The other thing is that I'll say here is that as you're constructing your roster, think about what you're doing at the beginning of the draft. So the idea here is that, like, if you go early on a quarterback, if I'm drafting Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, in essence, you don't want to load up on a ton of quarterbacks because you're using an early round pick on somebody that you think is going to be elite and be the best guy at the quarterback position on your roster most weeks. And so, but if you go 0 RB, then towards the end of your draft, you're going to want a lot more RBs. Generally speaking, like I think you want like 2 to 4 quarterbacks. You probably want 5 to 7 running backs, 7 to 10 wide receivers, a couple of tight ends as well. Again, it sort of depends, and we'll get into stacking here in a second, but as you construct your roster, you sort of want to think about like where am I drafting where I feel really good about, and where are more sort of my lottery tickets.
Right. You'd rather play multiple lotto tickets and compared to your sure things you like to consider.
Speaking of that,
positionally speaking,
like say if you do take a Josh Allen, a Lamar, or now Jaydon Daniels, right? Who would be another quarterback you would be looking at down the line in this type of format?
Like some of the late round quarterbacks?
Yeah, like is Jared Goff too early?
Dak?
No, I mean I love Jared. I mean we've talked about this when the schedule release show. Jared Goff's schedule down the stretch is fantastic.
Because those weeks he could be outscoring Lamar.
Right. I mean I think there's a lot of late round quarterbacks that I like. I mean I think Drake May is pretty interesting, right? I think we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but I'll say Trevor Lawrence. Like Trevor Lawrence is going super late, and I think we'll talk about why in a little bit here. But so anyway, we'll get into some players here as well. But yes, you want to sort of think about that's like, okay, I'm going elite quarterback, so here are some late round guys. Hey, I'm going elite running back. I'm going hero RB. So okay, here comes some late round running backs. I think that's important. But I think generally speaking, you have to sort of draft as if you're right. When you're drafting, have the attitude that everything that you think is going to happen is actually going to happen. So, and that's one of the reasons why stacking is so important, because what stacking does is basically limits the number of things you have to get right. And so that when those teams hit, when those offenses hit, if you have Jaydon Daniels and Terry McLaurin, they connect on a touchdown, obviously.
Right.
That's double points for the same play, as opposed to getting only the points for the quarterback or the wide receiver. And so that's the idea, is you're trying to maximize any specific play and minimize what you're trying to get right. It minimizes what you would potentially get wrong. It increases your single week upside, obviously, as well. Obviously, this is very important during playoff week. So as you're looking at the fantasy playoffs, there's a lot of great best ball content out there. I'll give a shout out to, we have a ton of great best ball guys on fantasylife.com. Also, obviously, check out our stuff here on rotoworld.com. But there's a whole best ball section for free on fantasylife.com if you want to check that out. But one of the things I'll say is that some of the teams that I think are interesting to stack later, like the Ravens are obvious, the Bills are obvious, like the high flying offenses are obvious,
Chiefs. Because they don't have a group of like elite receivers. Yeah.
Sure, but I mean, you mentioned Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned those wide receivers. You think about Josh Jacobs. You think about Jordan Love, Matthew Golden. Does he emerge? I mean, I had Dontavian Wicks in a best ball team last year. It was awesome because the weeks he popped big, and the weeks he disappeared, it didn't matter as well. How about the Patriots? I mentioned Drake May as a late round quarterback there, but I think Stephon Diggs is really interesting, especially as he gets healthier into the season as well. Hunter Henry is basically the weeks he scores a touchdown, he's awesome. The week isn't, you'll have another tight end. Pop Douglas, TreVeyon Henderson.
TreVeyon Henderson's the interesting one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the big playability.
Yeah.
I think another interesting team in that sense is actually the Dolphins, who have just kind of been discarded a little bit because they had such a rough season last year. Tyreek and Waddle both chronically dealing with injuries. There's a chance, I don't think those guys are just bad now. And Tua has a lot of variance, and if he's able to stay healthy, and still Mike McDaniel, still a ton of speed, that wouldn't be shocking if that is back to a top 4, top 5 offense in the NFL after a really rough year last year.
I like that call. I'll say, I think the Cowboys, no one likes the Cowboys. You know what I mean? It's like, they've been disappointed for so long. But again, Dak and Lamb and Pickens, Ferguson. Right. I'll give you another one that might be crazy, but how about the Carolina Panthers? Second year of Dave Canales, Bryce Young looked better down the stretch. If T-Mac is everything we think he's going to be, second year of Xavier Legette as well.
Jatavian Sanders had a couple games.
The Chubbler. I think the Panthers are going to be a lot better than. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but I think they're going to be a lot more
Competent.
fantasy relevant and competent than people give them
I
credit
would
for.
agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to call our shot now. I'm going to take a look at players whose ADP we think will rise over the summer. So kicks off Matthew. Who have you got?
Well, I already hinted at one of them, which was Trevor Lawrence. Like last year under Liam Cohen, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were top 3 in passing yards and passing touchdowns, despite the fact that Chris Godwin missed most of the season and Mike Evans missed a month with a hamstring injury. Like, Liam Cohen wants to throw. They're going to throw a ton. I don't think their defense is going to be particularly good. And when you bring in somebody like Liam Cohen, who's an offensive mind, as a head coach, he's going to focus on the offense. And so you suddenly think about, and that's part of Liam Cohen's big job, is to try to fix Trevor Lawrence, and he was there on the staff when he saw how Dave Canales refurbished Baker Mayfield's career, and then Baker Mayfield even had a better year in year 2 in Tampa Bay under Liam Cohen. So adding obviously having Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter. I think Brenton Strange is interesting, kind of like Parker Washington.
Yep.
I just think this is an offense that is going to struggle to run the ball. One of the reasons why I know, Connor, you like Bashal Tutin. I do as well. Second mention on the show for you, Jay, those of you counting home. But I just think this is going to be a pass-first, goofy offense that's just going to really, especially because of how Liam Cohen's mindset is, and because I think their defense is still going to be terrible.
The throw script is a really good point with Jacksonville. Yeah. Like, there's plenty of throw script opportunity for them, and they have the horses to go out there and succeed that way.
And he has some floor with his legs.
Yeah, I think pass rate over expectation is something that should be stable as you transition, because that is just kind of evincing a philosophy. And Liam Cohen, pass rate over expectation was through the roof with Tampa Bay. I like the terminology, Matthew, of refurbishing Baker Mayfield's career. Baker Mayfield just needed a new floor plan.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he was going to say revitalize.
Yes.
So refurbish was a really nice surprise.
It wasn't broken. It just needed a little something. Yeah.
Just a little polish.
Change a screw, polish.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Just buff it out.
Yep.
The other one I'll say here is Jauan Jennings. I think this is somebody whose ADP will rise as sort of the buzz comes. I would be shocked if Brandon Ayuk is there at the start of the season. That was a very serious injury. I think there's a decent chance that Ayuk isn't there until halfway through as well. No longer Deebo Samuel there as well. Kittle had a monster year, obviously, but he's going to be needed to block. You're going to have to deal with Chris McCaffrey. Jauan Jennings last year, I think it's going to be the number 1 wide receiver is a pretty good offense. Last year he played 9 games where he had over 70% of the snaps. He averaged 17.9 fantasy points per game. Over his final 9 games, he was a top 30 wide receiver, fantasy points per game as well. I think Jauan Jennings, and I've said this before, had the 49ers won the Super Bowl, Jauan Jennings should have been the MVP. He was the best player on the 49ers offense that game. And so I think he is an elite wide receiver that doesn't have the name value of that as well. And so I'm not saying he's a top 10 guy, but I'm saying
he's had top 10 guy games.
He's had top 10 guy games, right. And I don't think that's a fluke. And, the fact that the offense is back there's going to be opportunity there for him.
Yep. Jauan Jennings had the 14th best PFF grade of any wide receiver last year. All the underlying stats on Jauan Jennings have always been really good. Niners also have one of the easiest schedules in football. I think people are kind of forgetting that the Niners were 1 play away from winning the Super Bowl like 18 months ago.
Yep.
And are returning
Brock Purdy.
Most of the pieces of that offense, and it's still Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
My 2 guys, my first one, Justin Fields, which I feel like is somewhat of an obvious one, but he is going as a kind of borderline top 10 quarterback, low teens. I think we forget that 2022, Justin Fields was QB5 on a points per game basis. And a lot of that was kind of unsustainable with he was just ripping off 70-yard runs for fun. But guess what? That's variance. That's within the range of outcomes. He can do that. I think that he was a little bit shackled in the Pittsburgh offense. And I think that he's just going to get a lot more room to breathe in an offense that is his. Like, he is the guy in New York. There's no Russell Wilson looming over him in this offense. So I think that Justin Fields, there's just a ton of upside. It wouldn't shock anyone. I think if Justin Fields is the QB6, QB7, that seems totally
it wouldn't shock you either if he has more rushing yards than any quarterback in the league. He's the second best ever to do it as far as the season goes. But you talk about those long runs, like he did that last year, like when the Steelers were struggling against the Browns in the snow, they put him in. He has a 40-yard run. They run it on 4th and 6 versus the Ravens, and he picks it up. So, like, that's still there.
He was a top 8 quarterback on a points per game basis when he was starting with Pittsburgh, and I think of the 6 games that he started for the Steelers last year. So I agree with you there. Just looking very quickly at that list of 8 QBs at ADP, J.J. McCarthy going as QB 19 in best ball is really interesting. KOC is going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to be healthy, obviously. So, but that's why I think there's a value there.
Yeah, it's still a great offensive coach of the year, friend of the show,
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell. It's still Justin Jefferson, and it's still what is, I think, a pretty solid offensive line if Christian Darrisaw gets back as
He could
expected.
run a little bit, too.
One last thing on Fields, too. The Jets were one of the teams that voted against the tush-push ban. Yeah. It's going to be a big part of their offense, their red zone offense. He's going to have a lot of touchdown equity in this offense.
Yeah. Who has more rushing yards this year, Justin Fields or Breece Hall?
I would take Fields right now.
I would, too.
Because I think, as much as we all love Breece, one, he's going to be involved in the pass game. Two, he's sharing carries with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis now.
Yes.
Like, this is the Detroit staff. It's going to be close, but I would take Fields.
I'll say this. That year he narrowly missed running for 1,000 yards. He was only doing that on 14, 15 carries a game. So if they improve the offensive line, so if Breece Hall, if he has that type of efficiency, then I would take Breece Hall.
Yep. All right, my second guy is Josh Downs, betting on talent here. Production is effectively, as we talk about, it's talent and opportunity, and situation is a big part of opportunity too. But I'm just trusting the talent here because I think that people look at Anthony Richardson and his inaccuracy as a reason to downgrade Josh Downs, which is fair. But I think the way you need to look at Josh Downs is not as though he's going to get the Anthony Richardson of last year as a passer. You're either going to get a better Anthony Richardson or you're not going to get Anthony Richardson at all. It's going to be Daniel Jones who can support a wide receiver like he did Malik Neighbors last year. So I think that Josh Downs, just believe in his talent, his ability to separate, his ability to produce as a wide receiver, if getting remotely competent quarterback play, and I think that he will get that, whether it's Anthony Richardson or not. All right, Connor, who are your two?
I'll take one chalk play and then a deeper one after that. Travis Hunter is the chalk play. Now, ADP, 44, okay, rookie, you're sitting there going, that's not too far down the board, but I think people are somehow starting to forget if he just plays mostly offense, which it's kind of seeming like Jacksonville is very intent on.
Play no defense.
Right. He's out there in OTAs playing offense. This guy could be special at wide receiver. I mean, insanely special. And Brian Thomas Jr. now has a reputation because of how good he is last year. You need to allocate more coverage, especially bracket coverage with his deep ball tendencies, over to him. Travis Hunter is going to eat the middle of the field alive. Think of, with Liam Cohen in this offense, think of Chris Godwin. Like, that's exactly how you have to think of Travis Hunter in this offense. Right. Target share will be high, but Lawrence, you nailed it. The reason why I think his ADP goes up, people are going to buy into these clips of him playing so much offense, and I think they should.
Yeah. And look, we heard Liam Cohen earlier this offseason say about Brian Thomas, like, we want to get him the ball and get running. I think that's even more so for Travis Hunter because that's what he did all the time at Colorado. Like, you want him to just get it and go.
You're going to hear me say this throughout the summer as well. This is one of the things I said about Malik Neighbors. I've said this about a couple of different guys. They paid so much draft capital, Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, in their first big move as Jaguars, leadership, gave up so much to go get Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter has to work.
He needs to be a star.
Travis Hunter has to work. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to do everything possible to feed Travis Hunter, to make him a star, to make him work, to prove themselves right, because they gave up too much for him to fail.
Yeah. I would take him 10 spots higher than this. Yes. I really mean it. So let's go almost 200 spots further down the board. Kyle Monangai on the Bears. Listen.
Let's go.
Let's go, guys. This is a Kyle Monangai desk right now.
It is.
Jersey's very own. Listen, if you're looking at this offense under Ben Johnson and the way the backfield is, and you're playing a lotto tickets at running back, Kyle Monangai is a free lotto ticket. Yes. He is a between the tackles, punch you in the face kind of running back. DeAndre Swift was healthy the last 2 years, but early in his career, he was hurt a lot. He's just not very good, honestly, DeAndre Swift. So I could see a situation where Kyle Monangai starts to get some goal line chances. He's an excellent pass protector. I think down the road, Ben Johnson is going to look at this guy and be like, this is my next David Montgomery.
Yes, 100%. Didn't run great. He didn't run fast at the combine, which is probably
didn't run that fast all the time on the field.
Of course, right. Exactly. No, he's a kid from Rutgers, so he didn't come from like a big program, but when you watch it, he is hard to bring down. He runs angry,
Through everyone.
Yeah, through everyone. And I will tell you, and Connor and I have talked about him, I have him on literally every dynasty team. So this is a Monangai desk for sure.
225 is his ADP. It can only go higher. This was a layup pick.
I love the pick. Yep.
Okay, Lawrence, bring us home. Who are you?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with another rookie running back who was drafted just a couple of rounds higher than Monangai, and Jaydon Blue, Dallas Cowboys. The thing here, you think, well, he's a fifth-round running back, but the two key things for me is he's a different running back than what they already have in Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, which neither one of those guys topped 550 rushing yards last season. So I think the Cowboys feel like they may have gotten a steal here. It gives them explosiveness out the backfield. He's a running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's done that multiple years at Texas. 6 receiving touchdowns last year at Texas. That was tied for the most among FBS running backs there. So you add that element of the game. Now, you shouldn't expect him to come in, get the 20 carries right off the bat, but you should expect him to at some point have some type of role, and you know how it go in fantasy. When you start seeing clips, when you start talking about it on the internet, then that ADP goes up. The second one for me, Jay, we got 2 Colts pass catchers here because I'm going Tyler Warren. And like you said, you mentioned Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. People might be scared of that, but people were scared of Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, and Aiden O'Connell throwing the ball to Brock Bowers last year. And I would take these Colts quarterbacks over those guys last year. We talk a lot about what changed Steichen and him bringing his offense and doing what he did with the Eagles. But what did he have with the Eagles that he never had with the Colts? A legitimate tight end. He always had Dallas Goedert, and now they got their guy in Tyler Warren. They will focus on him, and that's what's going to open up the offense. That's what's going to help Anthony Richardson, if we're being quite honest. So I think his ADP will start to rise as the summer goes on.
I sure hope so.
And the tush push is not banned, and he's a guy who could do that. He's a guy who could run at the goal line. Anthony Richardson's been hurt in the past. Well, don't use your quarterback, use your tight end like the Ravens do.
Yeah, there's definitely some Taysom Hill to Tyler Warren. For sure. There is no easy transition, but as long as we are talking about the Colts, we have to talk about the fact that last night the NFL world got some sad news when Colts owner Jim Irsay passed away at 65 peacefully in his sleep. And Irsay was somebody, you can just search social media, and so many former players and coaches that worked for him, including our own Tony Dungy here at NBC, expressing condolences. Incredibly sad, as an NFL fan, I enjoyed the fact that Mr. Irsay always spoke his mind. He was at the forefront of trying to battle mental illness and mental health issues. He was somebody at the forefront of that. This is a guy that spent a great deal of money to help free a whale that was trapped. He's a very generous man. I will, on a personal level, just specifically meaningful to me as a lifelong Washington fan, I don't think Dan Snyder would have been kicked out of the NFL without Jim Irsay being the first guy to raise his hand publicly when all the other NFL owners were keeping, no comment. Jim Irsay was like, this guy's bad for the sport. And so personally meaningful to me. But anyway, sad day in the NFL. Words are inadequate here, but our thoughts and prayers are with the Colts, their fans, their fan base, and the Irsay family. We'll be back after this.
What's up, faithful? It's Brock Purdy. We just got the deal done. I'm excited for the next 6 years with you guys. Thanks for always having my back and being there for me from day one. So here's to the next 6 years, and let's go win now together. Go Niners.
Great week for Iowa State alum.
Yeah, it really is.
Brock Purdy and Tyrese Halliburton. Brock Purdy.
Week's not over, Jay.
Game-winning shots, game-winning contracts, everything.
Indeed.
It's Brocktober.
Oh, there it is. Tyrese. with
So sick of
rocking
this human.
I
just can't even stomach his face at this point.
That brand new
So good.
Brock Purdy jersey on.
I love.
Say he's brocking
Yeah.
a Purdy jersey.
Yeah.
I love that he wants all the smoke. I
Yeah.
love the choke sign. I love everything about Tyrese Halliburton. And love everything about Brock Purdy, who's got this 5-year, $265 million contract extension. NFL Network's Mike Garofalo reporting that this new contract includes a full no-trade clause for the duration of the deal.
Smart.
What do you think of this deal overall in the NFL context? Do you think this is just kind of what you have to pay for a player who's shown this much at this young age?
And it's not egregious, right? Like, you're not getting some insane discount just because he's Brock Purdy, who we view as a middle-of-the-pack, top 12-ish quarterback when he's on his game. So, no, it's fine. And these deals, the way they're structured, it's never actually the 5 years, $265 million. So, no, this is what they have. What was their alternative? Seriously, what was their alternative?
This is like Dak Prescott money, basically.
Dak's contract at the time was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, Dak was paid as basically the
I think
second best
Purdy's better
quarterback.
than Dak and Tua.
Yeah, the challenge is, if you're the 49ers, this is why there was a long disconnect. The challenge is that he's probably a top 12 quarterback on the 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan calling his plays, surrounded by the weapons he has.
That is very fair.
If you
that's
take
all
Brock,
that matter. Yeah.
Right. If you take, he's much more valuable to the 49ers than he is to any other team in the NFL, which is why the trade clause is great for us in fantasy, because as long as he's in San Francisco with Kyle coaching, you feel pretty good about what he's doing here. On the other hand, the counter argument that is like, what are their choices? Like, how much worse are the 49ers if Russell Wilson is their quarterback?
See, I think a lot worse.
Me too.
Because I think the gap between what Purdy has shown and what Jimmy Garoppolo did was significant. Jimmy Garoppolo was never like an MVP candidate for the Niners.
No,
I think
but
it's a different
He's in that
tier.
Super Bowl, though.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on Garoppolo, but I'm saying somebody like Russell Wilson or even Aaron Rodgers, right? Who just like is Purdy better than Russell Wilson is at this stage of the career? Yes.
Yeah.
But is he $30 million better?
That
I mean, in terms of what you, that's what I'm saying. In terms of what you could have gotten.
Because the Steelers were still in the playoffs with Russell, so it's like, yeah, he's better, but I think Russ is like still a starter.
Yeah. And again, Russell Wilson is somebody who's won a Super Bowl and is probably going into the Hall of Fame, right? And don't you think? I think he gets in.
He's Hall of Good to me.
But if
I would be disappointed personally if he got in.
Wow.
He better get in before Eli.
What do you think of when you think of the Seahawks team?
I think of
the Legion of Boom.
I think of Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman.
Thank you.
Yeah, but he was throwing for 35 TDs, 7 picks, and them he was good.
Russell's good.
Yeah, Hall of Good.
Like he was battling with Lamar for MVP.
All right, we got to move it on.
There are plenty of Hall of Good players.
That's
very
Hall
good.
of Fame.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Anyway,
Like Kurt
Russell Wilson
Warner.
would be the best quarterback on the New Orleans Saints right now if he was on the team. And we heard Kellen Moore talking about the Saints quarterback room.
that's a good transition.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, fair.
I feel like we got some good guys here. They can, certainly mentor each other at the same time going through this process. I feel like our quarterback room has some experience there in the sense that myself, Doug Nussmeier, Scott Tolzien, we've all been around this for a while from a player's and a coach's perspective, and Scott Lenahan, been a coordinator and a head coach in this league for a long time. So, we do feel like we got a good room there. We'll give those guys a bunch of opportunities. They'll be exciting to see them get out there, learn, grow, make good plays, miss a few. And, that's all about this whole process is about.
Okay, here are the options for the New Orleans Saints. Tyler Shock, drafted in the second round, much to the chagrin of many. Spencer Rattler, Jake Hayner, and then Hunter Deckers, whose work I'm not overly familiar with. Who do you think is the day one starter, Connor?
Shuck.
It's going to be Shock?
I think it'll be Shuck. I think that now the only argument you could say is that it's easier to start out with Rattler or Hayner and then pull the plug at some point to play Shuck. But Shuck's a 25 going on 26-year-old rookie. This isn't Jackson Dart. This isn't Jalen Milroe where it's like we need
Where it's a project, right?
You have 7 years of college tape. You knew exactly what you took.
Is this the worst quarterback situation there's ever been entering a season? I can't imagine there has been one worse.
I don't think so, but it's up there. I'm trying to. There's got to be someone worse. I mean, you're talking about a man that watched like some pretty
Locker on the
rough quarterback
Titans.
situations.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was pretty bad.
There was a
Christian Ponder?
Look, listen.
Yeah, there's been some really bad
You had
ones.
Joey Harrington, Byron Leftwich going in and out with the Falcons in 07.
my Commanders had at one point went into a season with Dwayne Haskins, R.I.P., Kyle Allen, and Alex Smith on one leg.
Right.
I mean,
this is on the Mount Rushmore, though.
It's right up there.
I look forward to
it. Is the four when the Saints start the season? Is their starting quarterback one of the four faces we saw, or is it somebody that somebody gets cut? And I mean, what if Flacco?
Can we stop saying his name?
Yeah, comeback player of the year, Joe
Kenny
Flacco.
Pickett ends up down there.
I think the Browns are cutting one of those four quarterbacks, and I would argue any one of those four quarterbacks might be better than those guys, even though they took Shuck ahead of Sanders. I mean,
I think they just ride it out. I really do.
You got, like you said, Shuck was a second-round pick.
He's the 40th pick in the draft.
He's 38 years old. He got to play right now. You got to play that uncle right now.
You're running out of time.
He like an unk.
Yeah.
He unk stage. You got to play him right now.
Okay. Another confusing
Come on,
situation.
Unk Shuck. That's what we going to call him now.
Unk Shuck.
Big Unk.
Yeah. All right.
Him and Joe Flacco talking about listening to the same music and watching the same movies.
All right, let's talk about the Titans' backfield. Brian Callahan said the team's backfield could be a three-way split in 2025 after a very confusing 2024. How do you rank these guys, Matthew? Who do you want in the Titans' backfield?
Don't draft them.
Can I say no?
Yes, you can pass.
I'm gonna pass. I will say that if I had to pick one, give me Tajay Spears, who I felt like Tajay Spears there was a burst there, and I think he's going to be better in the passing game, and I think this passing game under Cam Ward is going to be more effective this year. So I think that if you're buying into, hey, the Titans passing game is going to improve, give me the guy that's going to be the better part of that passing game, and I think that's Tajay Spears. Tony Pollard was good last year when he got the work. He was somebody who was so efficient in Dallas, became the opposite in Tennessee, where he was completely inefficient, but when he got volume, he was very productive. But when he was splitting with Tajay Spears, he wasn't as good. When Pollard saw fewer than 18 touches last year, he averaged 7.7 fantasy points per game, compared with when he saw 18, he got 15.4. Now that's basically true with a lot of players, that the more work you get, the more production you have, but it was really stark with Pollard last year.
Yeah, it's just the volume situation, and I think that as much as we're excited about Cam Ward and the rebuilt offensive line, there's a chance that the Titans are playing from behind and throwing with Cam Ward, and it's just the split carries doesn't make it any easier. It's a backfield that if you can, avoid it. But I would agree with you because of the pass game work. In PPR, I would take Tajay.
I would say, too, Tajay Spears, he's actually a pretty solid running back, too. He started off with the injuries last year. That messed him up. But you go back to his rookie year, he went north of 50 receptions, and that was with Derrick Henry. He finished as a running back 35 on points per game behind Derrick Henry. So, he has some juice. He just got to stay healthy. And I think that's what Brian Callahan is trying to do for the whole backfield.
I could not agree more. For the second time this show, I have to say transitions are awkward and hard. It's been a tough week for those that are a sports fan. In addition to the passing of Mr. Irsay, sports fans lost another one when George Wendt passed away. And I know you're like, wait, George Wendt? And I'm like, well, you know what? Honestly, the truth of the matter is George Wendt was part of the Bears sketch, which is one of the most iconic sketches in Saturday Night Live history. And, of course, George Wendt, also probably best known as Norm Peterson on the sitcom Cheers, and he played that role for 11 years. And my social media feed for the last 2 days have been nothing but Norm quotes and moments from that. And if you were a sports fan, like George was, I think you enjoyed his work. He was a big sports fan. I met him once, an unbelievably lovely man, and that is something that everyone who's ever met him, worked with him, interacted with him, said the same thing. So another tough loss for us in the sports world and people that like to laugh as George Wendt passed away the other day. We'll be right back.
DraftKings Sportsbook is your home for live betting, and new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If your bet wins, just download the app and use the promo code BERRY when you sign up. The DraftKings Sportsbook, the
crowd
is yours!
$5 to get $300? Use that BERRY promo code. Let's go.
All right, last call, as we see. The Hard Knocks season upcoming is with the NFC East, which promises to be, I think, one of the better divisions of football.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it the best, but four excellent teams comprising this division. The defending champs, the Eagles, are -135.
And their backups is the second team. And
Yeah.
the Commanders and Cowboys.
Wow.
Those are the 4 excellent teams.
There you go. Very good, Connor. All
outrageous.
right. Commanders +205, Cowboys 6-1, New York Giants 25-1. I'm not going to take the New York Giants 25-1 because they're not that good. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys at +600. I mentioned this before, but we do forget that 18 months ago, the Dallas Cowboys entered the playoffs the second favorite to win the NFC. And I think that the roster is similar enough there. There is still upside. Pickens coming, I think, helps. Injecting some more youth and also just injecting some more health on defense, I think will really help. Still believe in Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So they would be my bet at 6-1. Connor, you're with me.
I'm with you all the way, Jay. I mean, it's the value of this. Obviously, the Eagles deserve to be the favorite. Obviously, the Commanders deserve to be the runner-up with what they're building, and they got better since last year. But the Cowboys, you're betting on injury luck, and it's +600. I mean, that's a big gap here. Dak, if he plays like the top 12 quarterback we expect him to be, if Pickens has a career year and a contract year, if CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb, the offensive line, they've invested in it. It needs to be better. And obviously this defense, in my opinion, is loaded. That's the difference maker. The Cowboys can win this division, and +600 is good value.
I agree with everything y'all said, and I like value too. So I'm going to just take a little bit less value. I'm going to take Dallas to be second in the division at +290. Like you said, I think George Pickens will help this team a lot. I still think the Eagles will win the division. I just don't like the juice there, so give me the Cowboys for second. Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you do.
I don't care if you lose your money. I don't care because the answer here is my Commanders at +205. Like, they almost won the division last year. You look at the NFC East has had a different winner like every single year. So the Eagles aren't winning this year, whether it's injury, luck, or what have you. I'm just telling you.
Don't
no,
bother
because
Eagles.
it's like, no.
Don't bother showing up.
Somebody else is going to win this division. I say it's my Washington Commanders who added Laramie Tunsil, who added Deebo Samuel, got better. Second year of Jaydon Daniels. Give me the Commanders at +205. Hail the Commanders. Hail victory. This is our last show for a while. We will be back in August, obviously, but we are now on we're going to take a summer hiatus here as well, so you can watch reruns on YouTube and Peacock, of course. Look back. It's all the fun moments that we've had here.
That's the Barry.
Week 7 waiver wire weekly is a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
What's going to be better than, week 6, close it out, keep it open as well. But we want to thank our crew, many of whom are Emmy Award winners. Not me, Lawrence, Jay, or Connor, but
Definitely
many of these
me.
people here as well. You'd be amazed at how many people it takes to work on this dumb show. They all crush it every single day. I cannot thank them and NBC enough for letting us do this every single day during this season. It's incredible.
See, Pete was third on the graphic. Third.
Pete made the graphic is the problem as well. Anyway, it's closing time. You can't stay here. Anyway, for Lawrence, Connor, and Jay, I'm Matthew. We'll see you in August. Love you. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.